ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You can also sign up for sportsbooks and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as they're the best account on the platform. Head to the App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire to download the app.
Good evening, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host here, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is some hot stove MLB talk with good friend, colleague, longtime ECSI family partner, Scott Webb, live from Tampa, Florida. I'm going to discuss what's going on in MLB as we speak. As of course, most of you people know right now, Juan Soto has left the building, gone from San Diego to the Yankees. Shohei Ohtani supposedly this weekend will tell the world where he's going. And I've been speculating forever it'll be the Dodgers. I also speculate that the San Francisco Giants will offer him more than the Dodgers will actually pay him, like Aaron Judge. And then, of course, Mr. Yamamoto, which I fear could end up in the Bronx as well. Shout out to the gentleman behind the glass, Joseph Shea, Evan Lewis, Kate Horton, and our proud new partnership and sponsor, WagerWire. If you have not downloaded the app, head on over to Google Play or wherever you download the apps. It's free. I'm going to be doing a lot more educational work with WagerWire and their apps. Congratulations on launching at Stations Casino. They're already with BetR and Jake Paul. More and more coming in 2024 and beyond. So without further ado, let's bring him in. Long time it's been. Mr. Scott, beam him up, Webb. What's up, Scotty?
Hey, brother, I am living the life down here. Well, it was warm. You know, we were like, 75 today, maybe 70 today. But it's going to be 47 degrees tonight. Keep your stuff up that way, would you?
Yeah, well, I just walked the dog before we went live here, and it was snowing. So we got the snow. We got the cold stuff, unlike you here. Beautiful time of year, obviously. Congrats to the Texas Rangers winning the World Series. Congrats to the Arizona Diamondbacks. One hell of a run. Great young team they have put together. Back east here, the Baltimore Orioles, another young up-and-coming team. The Rangers kind of did it ass backwards where they bring in DeGrom, they bring in the horses, and DeGrom didn't pitch a pitch, and well, it pitched a couple pitches, but gets a ring. But we're here to talk some hot stove. Earlier today, Juan Soto heads over to the Bronx and New York. A deal that probably could have been done at the All-Star break with Josh Hader, with Blake Snell. The Padres tried to make a run like the Angels did with Shohei, who's now a free agent. But taking us after the World Series to where we are today, give us, everyone watching and listening, what you've been up to and what your eyes and ears are hearing and seeing so far on December 6th in baseball.
Yeah, well, this is an interesting time of the year, and it's always one of those where these guys go and have these meetings, and then they meet. So they obviously go around and trade players and do different things. The biggest issues that I see, right now is, there's not a lot of bats to go get this year. So there's a lot of pitching. So bats are at a premium. So when you're a team that's in need of hitters, you better get them early. So I think that's one of the things you might see, going forward here is that the cream of the crop bats probably will be the ones that are the ones where you really want to go. And if I look at my list here, where there's the best available free agent hitters, all batters, not including Shohei Ohtani because he's kind of in a 2-team market, whatever, 3-team market, whatever that is. But you got Matt Chapman, Cody Bellinger, Ahmad Rosario, Rhys Hoskins, Jorge Soler, Mitch Garver, those kind of guys. That's the best you got in terms of free agents. So those guys, in terms of WAR production and what they're going to be, there's not really all-star players there. Like it wasn't too long ago where this market had 5 or 6 all-star shortstop candidates that everybody was battling for. So it's interesting to see kind of how this is going to play out, because in my opinion, you're gonna run into the starting pitching market. In the starting pitching market, you got Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, Eduardo Rodriguez, Marcus Stroman, Julio Urias, Lucas Giolito, James Paxton. You got a lot of guys that and that's just the top 3 or top 5 or 6. You can go right down the list and keep going. And I think that there's plenty of pitching that these guys can find that will help them. So as the market keeps progressing, as things keep happening, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the bats go. So with that being said, this Juan Soto deal for the Yankees is an amazing thing, not in a sense that wasn't going to happen, because everybody's been saying it's going to happen even since, I don't know, what I can remember last year. Everybody was talking about it's going to happen because the Padres weren't very good, so they were going to trade him away. Well, the Yankees, I don't know if people really realize how bad their Yankees need Juan Soto. So in the division where you have Baltimore that won 100 games. Now, I'm going to say it this way. I like Baltimore, but winning 100 games I think is a little fluky. So I don't think they're a 100-win team. Let's just say it that way. I think they're a good team, but I don't think they're a 100-win team. And then you have the Rays, who are competitive all the time, and the Red Sox, who are generally competitive all the time, the Yankees competitive all the time. And you got another team in the Blue Jays that, man, they're really good too. So it's a tough division. And when you think about what the Yankees put out there, and the Yankees still finished, I think, right around 500, missed the playoffs for the first time in ages. But the reality of it is, if you take Aaron Judge out of that offense, and I got this from Fangraphs, I pulled it up just so I would make sure that I gave credit to the right person. His name is Ben Clemens. He wrote an article right away about this deal. And what I already knew, but he put it into perspective that makes it very, very real. The Yankees, when you take Aaron Judge out of the lineup, have the same offense as the Kansas City Royals. I mean, that's how bad they are. And the Kansas City Royals offense. So when you start to think about where and how valuable Aaron Judge was and is to the Yankees, he's everything to them. So now you add a Verdugo, who is not a strikeout machine. They all strike out, but he's not a strikeout machine. He's not, Stanton's going to go up there and strike out all the time or hit a home run. He's not that guy. And he can play defense. He can be in the outfield. He's going to help that team. And now you put Juan Soto out there. And Juan Soto, yeah, he strikes out too. But boy, does he get on base. He gets on base better than everybody and anybody in the league. And, he's now going to be in a spot where, you have Verdugo, Judge, Soto. That's not bad. And then, Torres had a pretty good year last year. Maybe Rizzo, can come back and be whatever Rizzo is, so I like the moves that they made. I think it makes them more competitive. If you look at their lineup, righty, lefty, they can do it right down the line, righty, lefty, all the way down. So I think it's very helpful to the New York Yankees. And on the other side, the Padres, if you flip the switch to the Padres, and then you start to look at what does their team really look like, and you look at roster resource for the Padres, and the Padres have 2 pitchers right now. So they have Musgrove and they have Darvish, and that's it. The next guy is Matt Waldron, Pedro Alvia, and Jay Groom. I mean, if you guys know who those guys are and they're really, really good pitchers, good for you. But the reality is they need more guys. So the way I understood this deal to be, there's 5 guys going over, and like 4 of them are all pitchers, and they're you got Brito, and you had King, and you had a couple guys that were prospects that are going over there. So Brito and King have major league service time, and King will step right in and be the 3rd starter in the Padres right away. And I know Higashioka was part of this deal too. And Higashioka is probably the best catcher on that team as it sits right now. So their listed catcher is Luis Capiano. So I think that if you're asking for a return, that's not bad. That's probably pretty good. Plus, you dump $30 million of salary. So now you have a little bit of flexibility and some room and some other things going on, and you can kind of look at your team. But you still have on that team, you still have Bogarts, Tatis, and Machado. So that's not terrible. I understand that they're looking at trading Cronenworth. They're trying to get rid of Cronenworth now. So somebody will be interested in that. So I think it's a good deal both ways. But I also think, like we talked about behind the scene here, if the Yankees don't have some way to sign him, and they do this for 1 year of Soto, that's not good enough. So we kind of talked backstage, kind of that we think that there's probably something where they've already talked to the agent, and they probably have a better way to get a feel for what Juan Soto wants, and he's going to end up being a long-term Yankee. Now, the other thought that I want to make sure is clear is Soto's a lefty and Verdugo's a lefty. They need a lefty bats, but Soto's a spray hitter, so he's not necessarily just pull guy. So I think that a lot of people think, okay, well, his home run productivity is going to go up by 15 home runs because he's playing in New York Stadium. That may or may not happen. It depends on obviously how he keeps his stroke going or whatever. But the reality of it is that I believe that he's going to still keep the spray going on that he has and how he hits the ball. That doesn't mean he doesn't pull home runs, but I don't think he's just a dead pull hitter. So, some of those guys that you come across and you find are, big home run hitters, and all they do is hit the ball to home run to right field because they're lefties. He's not that kind of guy. So I like it for the Yankees. I also like it in back for the Padres. And, let's face it, Padres got off to a bad start last year, kind of compiled upon each other. Soto didn't get off to a good start, didn't have a really good, when he first went over there, didn't do that well, and they had a bad playoffs. And it kind of carried over into the end of April before he finally took off. And I think, it didn't meld well. So, maybe with a new manager over there, get some new things going on, mix up the team a little bit. Maybe they'll be better, even though they don't have Juan Soto. It's hard to say that, but it might happen.
No, and we had talked in April, and one of you thought the concerns was the makeup of this team. On paper, Juan Soto, Tatis, they added Bogarts in the offseason. Of course, they had Manny Machado. Well, they also had the I was going to say the World Cup of baseball, of course, but they all played together, and it was almost like the chemistry was not correct. It was almost like we had talked at length. Someone's got to go. And rumor had it is that they were shopping Tatis, trying maybe to move Tatis, knowing that people sometimes forget Soto is 25 years old. So you're getting someone that gets on base a bazillion time, whether it's base hit or walk, someone coming into the prime of his career, and someone that you're going to be able to extend and sign long-term and use him as a piece. And so the Yankees have basically made the power move, knowing they weren't going to get Shohei Ohtani. And as we talked backstage, I think they're one of the front runners, if not the front runner, to land Yamamoto. And as you had said, you get a healthy Carlos Rodon, you got a Cy Young Garrett Cole, and you add a Yamamoto, another young pitcher, into that rotation with now the addition of Soto with Judge. The East obviously will get a lot tougher for my Red Sox and your Rays.
That'd be interesting because when we first started this program, we said, oh, the Ohtani market's down to, 2-3 teams. Well, from what I understand, one of those teams is the Toronto Blue Jays. So if that's real and the Toronto Blue Jays are one of those teams, and now Shohei goes to the American League East and is in that division too. My issue with all this stuff about Shohei, and look, he is something else. But at the same time that you say he's something else, he's not going to be something else forever. He's not going to pitch and he's not going to hit forever. One of them's going to go, whether it's because isn't this his second Tommy John that he's got to have now? So, I mean, he had one, right? So this is his second one. He's not going to pitch this year at all. So he's not a pitcher this year. He's just going to be a hitter. Now, granted, he's a good hitter. So I don't want to take anything away from his hitting capability. But if you look at projection numbers, Shohei Ohtani shows up. I'm trying to find him on this list. Where is Ohtani on here? Well, that's not going to be good for Ohtani, is it? So if I go and make this, let's make it top 100 and see what we got. There he is. So Shohei Ohtani, just as a hitter, is showing up with a WAR number of 4.1 projected for 2024. 4.1. Now, anything that's around 4 is all-star level, so that's really good. Anything, so it's not like he's a bad player, but 4.1 in a projected WAR number from Fangraphs, and this is from Steamer. I'm sorry. That puts him 31st in all of baseball. 31st. So his value isn't that he's the best hitter in baseball. His value is that he's an ace. He's an ace pitcher. You're not going to get that this year. So when you sign him to this $500 million a year contract that people are planning on signing him to, I don't know what he's going to be when he comes back from the second Tommy John. And certainly if he's the 31st best hitter in baseball, you're not going to pay a guy $500 million. So what's interesting is the top of this list is Ronald Acuna. And Ronald Acuna is projected at 7.4 WAR. So that's an MVP type year. And then it's Juan Soto, and then it's Aaron Judge. So think about that. The top 3 players, 2 of them belong to the New York Yankees. That would be hard to beat. I mean, like, and if they actually do those numbers that they're projected to do, that's going to be hard to beat.
So let's go to the Shohei market. We've talked at length about Shohei. Again, the Angels at the All-Star break had to make a decision, try to make a quick trade or try to make the playoffs and then try to re-sign him in the offseason, and they failed on all parts there. He has been linked to the Dodgers since day one. The thought process is, again, there's 2 or 3 teams. We're here in Toronto. We know the Giants are in play there. They, again, offered Aaron Judge $50 million more than actually what the Yankees paid. I'd really, really, really would like to see him on the San Francisco Giants. I think it would be great for baseball. I like when the Giants are a part of the NL West. I mean, to think of a Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, top of the lineup, that's pretty scary too, Scott.
Well, there's no question. I think the Dodgers have the best 1-2 team all of baseball. I mean, I know the Braves are really good, and I like the Braves. But at the same time, there is no better 2 hitters than Mookie Betts and Freeman. And the reason I tell you that is because Betts and Freeman not only score runs, they deliver runs. So they are the catalyst that makes that team win. And when you go, I mean, Will Smith is a good catcher. He's a good hitter. I mean, he's batting third or whatever. Muncy bats, he's kind of like, the guy that hits 200 and hits, 30 home runs, 40 home runs, whatever. He's that guy. And then they got James Outman, Jason Hayward, Chris Taylor, Gavin Lux, and they got a guy named Michael Bush on here is going to be, the second prospect they got as a DH. They need some support. They needed support last year. And the thing that happened to them last year, which we talked about, is their depth of pitching is just not there. And then they got all hurt. All those guys got hurt. So, when you think about where they're at, their biggest advantage that they get in getting better this year, in that, I'm not talking about Ohtani yet, is Walker Buehler. If Walker Buehler comes back and he's the ace of the Dodgers, then that's they couldn't ask for anything better than that, because they need him, because then they got Bobby Miller, Ryan Pepio, Ryan Yarborough, and Emmett Sheehan. Those guys aren't going to get the job done. Now I get it. They could have Clayton Kershaw back, and they could have all kinds of different other things in there. But the truth of the matter is they need pitching too. Now you can get pitching in this market. There's a lot of pitchers out there. So it's the bats that have to go first. And when Soto got traded, in terms of pieces available, there isn't any better piece available than him. So if you have Ohtani and you put him in that lineup, that's going to help. They're going to score. And because those two guys, Freeman and Betts, they're on base all the time. What Freeman had, I don't remember. It might have been 75 million doubles or something like that. Led all of baseball in doubles. He was just, those guys are unbelievable the way those two guys batted. So I think, and the Dodgers have competition, right? I mean, Arizona knocked them out. And where I'm not in love with that team. I like that team. I'm just not in love with that team. I don't, over the course of 62 games, they're going to need pitchers. They need more pitching than what they got. So we'll see how all that plays out for them and how things go. They already made a deal, and they got, what's the guy's name? The guy that from Seattle, the third baseman, went there in a deal already. I'll get it. Hold on.
Suarez.
Yeah, it's Eugenio Suarez. Yeah, they got Eugenio Suarez, and he's now put in that lineup. Corbin Carroll was a difference maker for that team. And then when Ketel Marte got hot, he's like, I don't think people realize how good Ketel Marte is. Ketel Marte is MVP type guy. He's that good. He's quality all the way around. Eugenio Suarez is now going to bat in that lineup, and Christian Walker is streaky hot. I relate him kind of like a Paul Goldschmidt. Paul Goldschmidt can get out, but when he's hot, he's going to hit a bunch of home runs, and that's the way Christian Walker was. And then you got to get the development of Alek Thomas and Gabriel Moreno, the catcher, and some of these other guys as they go along. And then their pitching just falls short. Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, those two guys will be there and they'll be okay. But after that, Brandon Pfaadt did really well in the playoffs, but he wasn't good during the season. And then Ryan Nelson and Tommy Henry, those guys aren't going to make it. So, those they're going to need some help there. And all these teams have good bullpens. I mean, geez, they just somehow turn it around, and they got guys that just go out there and throw 100 miles an hour and get people out. So, and they're no different. Their bullpen's pretty good. So the Dodgers have a lot of work to do. They still got to stay ahead of the Padres, and the Giants have a lot of money to spend. So, if they go out and do the right things and bring in some people, and the Giants can be competitive. So the National League West is not just through the Dodgers. And if Ohtani signs with them, just remember, he's not going to pitch this year. And if he comes back and he's an ace, then, they got two. And if they got two aces with Walker Buehler, and Shohei Ohtani, and I think market-wise and what Shohei Ohtani is and can be, I don't want to say anything disrespectful to Toronto, but the market in Los Angeles is a market that's just like what Mookie Betts did when he left Boston and went there. I think it's a huge opportunity for the player. It's a huge thing for the sport. And, those guys are on TV all the time, national games all the time, and it won't ever stop. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Yeah, and you talked about the youth and the Atlanta Braves, and I heard Atlanta Braves, the Dodgers, and a couple other teams tied to Dylan Cease. which again did not have a great year last year. But whenever a pitcher leaves a team and heads over to, say, the Dodgers or even the Braves, they get that juice, and all of a sudden they turn into Cy Young. And a small move that was made yesterday, I'm a big fan of. He got called up, was supposed to be the next coming, failed miserably, got sent down, came back up, had an okay year last year. Surprised that Seattle moved on from Kelenic?
I don't know that I'm surprised. I think that you got to remember, Seattle also moved away from their Rookie of the Year guy. I don't remember his name now, but the outfielder that they had, he got hurt. Kyle Davis, wasn't it named Kyle Davis or something like that? Anyway, they moved away from him, and
Kyle Lewis, right?
Yeah, Lewis, that's what it was, Kyle Lewis. So they moved away from him, and they also got Kelenic. That was a deal. They brought him in from the Mets. He was a Met. So they brought him in, and that was part of the closer deal that they went over, sent him over to the Mets. So that he was part of all of those things. So I think that they're just tired of Kelenic. Now, Kelenic had his moments and his spurts, but I read something from one of the players that said that people don't realize how good the hitting coach is for the Atlanta Braves. Like he's really, really good, and people like Kelenic's swing. So, and Kelenic's still a young kid, and the Braves need that on their team. They need another outfielder. The reality though is, and if I say this the right way, if I go back over here, where's my Braves? They're there. The reality is think about this. The Braves need pitchers. I said it last year when they were coming into the playoffs, and I shouldn't say it that way. That just sounds bad. They needed pitchers last year. We talked about it. That sounds better. And the reality is that you can't go into the playoffs with a broke down Fried, an aging and old Morton. You had Kyle Wright that was hurt, and then go and say, hey, Bryce Elder, go win me these playoff games against one of the best hitting teams of all of baseball. You can't do that. And that's what they were forced to do, and obviously they couldn't do it. But if you look at what they have now, they're going to have a healthy Max Fried. They're going to have a healthy Spencer Strider. So they're going to have two guys that are pretty good at the top. After that, they got an aging and older Charlie Morton that gets hit around a little bit. Now, he didn't like fall off the deep end last year, but he was starting to show cracks. And then you got Bryce Elder, and one of the names that I think that we forget about is Yanoa, Huskara Yanoa. That he got hurt and hasn't pitched yet for the Braves after his season that he had a couple years ago. Well, he's due back this year. So if he can pitch, that's another guy that should be able to help that team. And if Kelenic can, get a 240, 250 batting average and hit some bombs out there, I think he plays pretty good defense. So the reality becomes is that's a pretty good lineup again. I mean, I'll tell you that's going to sound silly because, he got off to such a great start. But Sean Murphy, the catcher, was just something else at the beginning of the season. He made you go, holy crap, why did Oakland get rid of him, right? But down the stretch, he was an out. He didn't get a lot of hits, didn't get a lot of home runs. He was just an out. So he's going to have, they play, Travis D or not, they play him a lot too. So I like the idea that they kept him and they have him because, I would like to see Murphy get to a point where his swing isn't so long because, you get the longer the swing you have, the more these guys can manipulate these pitches, stay out of the zone, and you're going to look foolish up there. And, these Braves, they go up to bat and they're all 7'4" and they all look like, monsters, and they go up there. I mean, that's what they look like. I mean, they're all huge. You go up there, Matt Olson is huge. Austin Riley is huge. Marcelo Zuna is huge. Sean Murphy. I mean, these guys are just monsters that go up the bat. And, they can definitely play. I like that team a lot. But as you saw, come playoff time, there's no guarantees because, the Philadelphia Phillies, man, that team is really good and they can hit. And, that World Series run they made, I think really helped them grow and they can compete in these games. And the Braves need to get there.
It wouldn't be a baseball show without having you give us, before we wrap this up, Scotty, give us the temperature, the feel, the talk on the Tampa Bay Rays, a team that started out like the 84-85 Tigers. I remember that year. Tigers started 35-5 and then played 500 ball and eventually won a World Series. Your Rays could not be beat to start the year, right? I mean, it was just an incredible start. Pitching injuries. We know how the Rays operate. When you get ready for that big contract, it's like, all right, where we sending you? And we talked backstage about a Rosarena. We already know that they're trying to move Glass now. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? And what are your thoughts for the Rays in this offseason?
Well, the Rays keep doing stuff that they stay competitive. They stay at the top. They have good players. They have good young players. They have guys that fit their team molds. But I don't understand some of the things like Rosarena. I'm trying to look how old. He's 28. He's not that old. He came over from the Cardinals. And he made a name for himself in the WBC last year, carried over into the season, had a good year, was not an issue. He was good. Yandy Diaz had an all-star kind of year for them. He played really well. I've always thought he was a good player, but last year he was a great player. So his problem before had always been, he's a spray kind of hitter, not a home run hitter, and he's a big guy. Like Google Yandy Diaz one time and Google him and with like an image with his shirt off. He looks like the Hulk. I mean, he's just big, the biggest arms you ever seen on a baseball player. But that's Yandy Diaz, and he played very well. I still think they have problems with, Brandon Lau has not been doing real well. He's a guy they count on, but his average hasn't been able to pick up. His home runs have fallen off. So I don't really like that player, but I do like some of the things that they have. And to me, I still think they haven't solved the Wander Franco thing. I'm showing on, he's still listed on this team and he's listed as the everyday shortstop on roster resource. I don't know if he's ever going to play Major League Baseball again. So I have not heard anything more about that situation. Nobody's talking about it around here. So I don't know if he's actually going to ever be a Ray again. But that kid can play baseball. Now, he may be up to other things, but he can play Major League Baseball. There's no question that kid can play. So then you got to look at the pitching because that's what they've always been really good at. And they never had a chance to finalize everything last year. They got great pitching performances from Jeffrey Springs. I mean, Jeffrey Springs, I think, went out and won I don't know how many games he won in a row, like 9-10 games in a row. And then Tommy John surgery in April. So then you have Drew Rasmussen, who was doing the same thing. He has surgery in July and is done. And then you have Tommy John for Shane McClanahan. So you lose those guys and you can still win 90 games and pitch. And you have guys like Tyler Glasnow, Zach Eflin, who really pitched well for them. Then you run into, okay, what do I got now? So their problem that they're going to run into is, they get Shane Baz back this year. And they're going to have to figure, and they got Aaron Savali over, so they're going to have to figure out how to kind of use him. But what's the guy I'm thinking of that I'm missing right now off the top of my head? The pitcher that came up and went down and went up and went down and was really good for a little while, and then he got hit. Where's the pictures? There they are. So Taj Bradley, that's who I'm thinking of.
Taj.
So Taj can pitch. Now he's got to get pitched right, and he's got to get in there, and he's not even listed in the 40-man roster. So as you turn things around and you keep things going, I don't know what the Rays are doing. They're down here talking about trading a Rosarena. They're talking about trading Tyler Glass now. They're talking about trading Isaac Paredes. These guys are hitting home runs and doing all this stuff for them. And then what are they going to have left? I mean, I guess it depends on what they bring back. But the reality of it, in my mind, is that the Rays will find a way to at least be competitive. I'm not sure what they're going to do or what that means. Or everybody wants bats, so there's 3 of them right there. If you want 3 bats, excuse me, you can get. I'm sorry, there's these 2 of them, Rosarena and Paredes. You can go get those guys. Paredes hit 30 home runs last year, so it's a team that is interesting how it all works together. We talk about the Padres and all the star talent and everything that they had, and they couldn't work together. And then you have the team like the Rays, who are always playing above who they are, above what they're capable of. And that's, it's an interesting culture and an interesting environment. So it's a weird place for them. And, I think they got a baseball stadium deal done now. So they should be all, going this way. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, we can't wait. And our goal for everyone watching and listening, obviously, is we're going to let the winter meetings subside. We're during the holidays here coming up, and obviously get some bowl games action coming. The Final Four, January 1st in football. We'll get back to me and Scotty going at least once a week, and then soon twice a week, talking some baseball, talking some college bowls, talking some NFL. Myself and you, usually Sunday mornings from 9 to 10 Eastern, with our good friend JB from the Vegas Scoreboard Express on AM and FM in Vegas. Enjoy that as always. The scroll has been going the whole time, Scotty, but tell everyone on Twitter, X, and where else they can find your work and what to expect, not just today or tomorrow, but in 2024 for you in baseball.
Well, I'm trying to figure out baseball a little differently this year than last year. I think the rule changes and some of the things that happened last year, and I need to do a deeper dive because, I'm a baseball guy that is a gambler, right? So we bet on the games, and we bet on who's going to win, overs, unders, totals, stuff like that. And it seems to me that, there's a lot of things going on, and I'm not saying it's a wrong thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but the amount of work that goes into trying to prognosticate a baseball game and what's going to happen in the outcomes is different than, running an algorithm on your computer and going, well, these 7 guys, if I bet these 7 guys, and I get 3 of them to get 2 hits tonight, I might make a little bit of money. I don't do that. You don't do that. We don't, it's not that we don't do props, because we certainly do props, but the reality of it is that there's a lot of work that goes into, the market in terms of over unders, in terms of season wins and things like that. And trying to get an idea of really how strong teams are. We're not throwing names and faces and batters and pitchers on the wall and guessing and then trying to make financial results out of how many guys actually turn a result versus didn't turn a result. I see this guy on Twitter all the time about these basketball picks. He's doing like 20 guys a night. And he's like bragging about how good he's doing. And I'm like, look, man, that's not handicapping. And that's not what we do. That's not what old school gray guy beard guys do. We don't do that. We do the homework. We do the work. So that all being said, my goal this year is to really help people understand what that looks like. I'm gonna do things a little differently. I'm just gonna put some articles out. I just started doing some of that stuff. It's been a bad health year for me, so I backed away from a lot of stuff, and hopefully we can get some of that stuff better cleaned up here in the near future, so that I can spend more time doing that stuff, because I think the knowledge that we, and especially here in Florida, for God's sakes, everybody and their brothers flipping up their app going, hey, look, it's like I can bet on I can bet on my phone, and then they don't know what to do. So we need to help people, and we need to try to help them as best we can. And I think the best way is to educate them and show them different things and teach them the sort of guidelines and rules that you should follow, with the idea being that you're still having fun and you're still gambling the way you want to. You're not over your head. And if you want to throw 7 guys on the wall and see if they get hits, you can do that too. That's all part of the fun. But just understand that's not what we do. That's not what real gamblers and handicappers do. And like I can just see those guys sitting at a poker table and they're going, I don't know what to do. Let me just see them throw their stuff down. That's what gambling is, and that's what sports gambling is, and that's what we do here is, if you can make a good bet, put your money in when it's good, then do it. If you can't put your money in when it's good, you pass, you fold, right? So that's the way poker works. That's the way sports betting works. And the reality of it is, if you don't know what your hand of value is, how are you going to make bets? And that's why I think these guys that do that stuff is ridiculous. But at the same time, that's ridiculous. It's fun, man. If you're not having fun doing this, holy Christ, it's so much fun to go out there and win a bet and go, holy crap, I'm going to go buy a drink now, or whatever, a pizza, or maybe a new watch, or whatever it is. Go do whatever. That's the funnest thing in the world, just to go out there and win a bet. So do that, have fun, but at the same time, kind of understand there's a lot to it that maybe you don't
know. Always a pleasure, of course. Want to thank everyone watching and listening. It's been a great crowd. Please give us a like, give us a retweet. It's like tipping the dealer at the Bellagio. If you haven't subscribed, jump on over to YouTube to East Coast Sports Investors and subscribe. It's free there. Scotty, always a pleasure. Go follow him at Webby20 MLB on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. You can come follow me at EC Sports Invest. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., bright and early, myself and Julian Edlow from DraftKings and DK Sportsbook will be here. 1 o'clock, I will be guest with Andrew McGinnis at Wager Talk at McGinnis Picks, and me and Riley will be back at 4:30 from the closing bell. From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one and only Scotty Webb at Webby20 MLB. We wish everyone a blessed evening. Enjoy the Hot Stove League. Maybe the Rays and Red Sox will do something to add a nice Christmas present for us. Seeing Christmas is just 19 days away. See you in the morning.